Welcome, dear friend, and thank you for choosing to spend your time in this quiet place. This story was crafted with the simple, gentle hope of offering you a peaceful sanctuary, a soft space for your mind to rest. If you find comfort within these words, a simple like on the story, a subscription to our channel, or a kind comment is always deeply appreciated. Tonight, we will be visiting the Great Repository of Stillness. Prepare to be enveloped by its profound quiet, to feel the gentle hum of its resonant silence, and to witness the soft, magical glow of the golden seams that appear only for those with a peaceful heart. May this journey bring you deep contentment and guide you softly into restful sleep. Chapter 1. The Threshold of Stillness. One might say that the journey to the Great Repository of Stillness begins long before one arrives at its door. It begins in the quiet moments of the day with a gentle yearning for a peace so profound that it feels like coming home. For Cassian, a cartographer of gentle things, this yearning had become a soft, persistent hum in his heart, leading him at last to a simple, unadorned archway carved into the base of a low, rolling hill. The air around the entrance already felt different, holding a coolness and a quiet that seemed to absorb the small sounds of his approach, leaving only the soft padding of his own footsteps on the well-worn path. He paused at the threshold, a place that felt less like a boundary and more like a gentle invitation. There was no door to open, only a deepening of the peaceful shadow within. The air that breathed out from the archway carried a clean, delicate scent, a fragrance of pure beeswax and something else, something ancient and deeply comforting, like the scent of a beloved book left open in a sunlit room. He took a slow, deep breath, and it felt as though he were inhaling pure tranquility, a sensation that gently loosened a knot of tension in his shoulders he hadn't even realized he was carrying. Stepping through the archway was like stepping into a different state of being. The subtle, ever-present sounds of the world he knew, the distant call of a bird, or the sigh of the wind through the grasses, simply fell away. They were replaced by a quiet so complete, so encompassing, that it felt like a soft velvet blanket being draped over his senses. The light changed, too. The brightness of the afternoon sun gave way to a soft, diffused glow that seemed to emanate from the very air itself, a gentle, sourceless luminescence that held no heat and cast only the softest of shadows. Before him, the chamber opened into an immensity that his mind struggled to grasp. It was a perfect circle, its walls crafted from a pale, seamless wood that curved upward into a vaulted ceiling high above. And on those walls, rising in tier after gentle tier, were the candles. There were thousands, perhaps millions of them, a silent congregation of potential light. They were of every size imaginable, from slender tapers no bigger than his little finger to great pillars that stood as tall as he did, each one a unique shape of quiescent ivory, cream, or pale honey. The sheer scale of it was enough to make one feel small, yet Cassian felt only a profound sense of peace. The candles were unlit, every last one of them. They were not waiting for a flame from without, it seemed, but were simply content in their own quiet existence. Their collective presence created a landscape of stillness, a silent testament to the beauty of what is rather than what could be. The air was cool against his skin, a refreshing balm that seemed to cleanse away the dust of his travels and the weariness of his mind. He took a few slow steps forward, his boots making almost no sound on the smooth, polished wooden floor. He could feel a faint, low vibration through the soles of his feet, a hum so deep and gentle it was more a feeling than a sound. This, he knew, was the resonant silence he had heard whispers of, the very heartbeat of this tranquil place. It was a sound that did not break the quiet, but was instead the very substance of it, a gentle thrumming that invited his own heart to slow its rhythm to match. The scent of beeswax was stronger here, a pure, clean perfume that spoke of meadows and sunlight and the patient work of countless tiny wings. It mingled with the faint, vanilla-like aroma of the ancient wood, a combination that felt both wholesome and magical. Cassian tilted his head back, his gaze following the perfect sweeping curve of the walls as they rose to meet the distant glowing ceiling. He felt as if he was standing inside a great hollow seed, a place of immense potential and perfect, enfolding safety. Here, in the presence of so much quiet, his own thoughts began to settle. The usual flicker of plans for the next map, the gentle concern for an errand forgotten, all of these simply lost their energy, like ripples smoothing out on the surface of a perfectly still pond. He did not need to try to be calm here. The very atmosphere of the place was a gentle instruction to simply be, a soft exhalation, a long, slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding escaped his lips, and it felt like the first word in a new language of peace. Chapter 2. The Language of Wax. Having allowed the initial wave of profound peace to wash over him, Cassian began to move, his steps unhurried and his gaze soft. He felt no urge to explore with purpose, to catalog or measure as he might in his work as a cartographer. Instead, he allowed himself to simply meander along the base of the first tiered wall, his path guided by a gentle and unspoken curiosity. The polished wooden floor felt smooth and cool beneath his feet, and the gentle, resonant hum of the chamber seemed to rise through the wood, a constant, soothing presence. His fingers, accustomed to the delicate feel of parchment and the smooth glide of a quill, reached out as if of their own accord. They came to rest upon the side of a large pillar-shaped candle, one that was wide enough for him to encircle with both hands. The surface of the wax was exquisitely smooth, possessing a coolness that was pleasant to the touch, like a river-smoothed stone on a warm day. The scent of pure beeswax rose from its surface, a clean and simple perfume that filled his senses with a feeling of deep contentment. He let his hand slide over the candle's form, appreciating the subtle, perfect imperfections of something made with care. He began to notice the vast spectrum of colors among the countless candles, a study in the softest shades imaginable. While at first they had all seemed a uniform pale color, his quiet attention now revealed a world of gentle difference. There were candles the color of fresh cream, others the soft, warm shade of spun honey, and some held a translucent ivory hue that seemed to capture and hold the chamber's gentle light. Each one was a silent story of its own making. It was in this state of quiet observation that he first became aware of another presence. The faintest whisper of movement, the softest slide of fabric against the smooth floor reached him. He turned his head slowly and saw a figure approaching, moving with a slow, deliberate grace that was in perfect harmony with the chamber's profound stillness. It was a woman with kind eyes and a serene expression. Her long silver hair braided and coiled neatly. She wore simple, soft robes the color of oatmeal, and her feet were clad in soft slippers that made no sound. She stopped a short distance away, offering a gentle smile that needed no accompanying words. In her hands, she held a simple earthenware tray upon which sat 2 steaming ceramic mugs. Cassian felt no surprise, no intrusion into his solitude. Her presence felt as natural and as welcome as the gentle hum in the air. This, he understood, must be Nora, the caretaker of this quiet world. She gave a slow nod of her head, a gesture of welcome and understanding. "A warm drink can help one settle," she said, her voice a low, soothing murmur that seemed to weave itself into the resonant silence rather than disturb it. It was the first voice he had heard since entering, and it was as gentle as the light that filled the chamber. She held the tray out to him, and the warm, comforting scent of chamomile and spice drifted up to meet him, a fragrance that spoke of cozy evenings and simple comforts. Cassian reached out and took one of the mugs, its ceramic surface warm and solid in his hand. He brought it closer, inhaling the fragrant steam that rose from the pale golden liquid, the simple act feeling like a profound ritual in this hushed place. He offered Nora a look of quiet gratitude, a small smile touching his own lips. The warmth from the mug was a pleasant contrast to the cool air, a small anchor of comfort in the vastness of the chamber. He took a slow, careful sip. The tea was warm and sweet, with a gentle floral taste of chamomile and a hint of something familiar, perhaps a touch of cinnamon or dried apple. The warmth spread from his tongue through his chest, a comforting sensation that seemed to dissolve any remaining vestiges of worldly chill. Nora watched him for a moment longer, her expression one of simple shared contentment, before she turned and glided silently toward a small, comfortable-looking wooden chair set a little way off, leaving him to his tea and his quiet discoveries. Chapter 3. The Light Within. Cassian carried the warm mug with him, its gentle heat a welcome companion as he found his way to a simple wooden bench nestled between 2 of the lower tiers of candles. The wood of the bench was as smooth and pale as the floor, worn to a soft patina by countless quiet visitors over untold years. He sat, the resonant hum of the chamber feeling a little stronger here, a gentle vibration that he could feel rising through the seat, up his spine, and into the base of his skull. It was a deeply calming sensation, like being held in the palm of a soft, humming stillness. He sipped his tea, the warm, spiced chamomile, a perfect counterpoint to the cool, wax-scented air. As his body settled and his mind grew ever more quiet, his gaze drifted back to the candles before him. He was not looking for anything in particular, simply resting his eyes upon their pale, quiescent forms. He let his vision soften, his focus blurring slightly, and allowed the gentle, sorcereless light of the chamber to fill his perception. Here, time did not pass. It simply deepened, each moment becoming fuller and richer than the last. It was then that he saw it. At first, it was just a flicker in his peripheral vision, a trick of the soft light. But as he kept his gaze steady and his breathing slow and even, it appeared again, clearer this time. Deep within the solid wax of a tall, slender candle, a faint line of light appeared. It was not a reflection on the surface, but a light that shone from within the candle itself. A soft, golden luminescence that was as gentle as it was beautiful. It moved with a slow, languid grace, like a single thread of liquid honey drifting through clear water. He leaned forward slightly, his heart giving a quiet, wondrous flutter. Another thread of light appeared, joining the first. They swirled around each other in a slow, silent dance, creating intricate, ephemeral patterns that bloomed and faded within the heart of the wax. This, he realized, with a sense of gentle awe, was the chamber's true magic. These were the golden seams, the inner light that revealed itself only to a mind that was truly at rest. The sight was mesmerizing, drawing him deeper into a state of profound, meditative calm. He felt an impulse to touch the candle, to feel if the inner light carried any warmth. He set his mug down on the bench beside him and reached out, placing his palm gently against the candle's cool, smooth side. As his skin made contact, a soft, pleasant warmth spread from the point of contact, flowing up his arm and into his chest. It was a gentle, pervasive heat, like the feeling of standing in a beam of morning sunlight, and it carried with it a sense of deep, abiding well-being. The golden seams within the wax seemed to glow a little brighter in response to his touch. He looked around and saw that the magic was not confined to a single candle. In dozens, then hundreds of the candles around him, the soft inner light was beginning to awaken. Each one held its own unique dance of golden threads, a silent orchestra of flowing light. It was as if his own quieted mind had given them permission to reveal their hidden beauty. The entire chamber seemed to be softly breathing with this gentle living light, its quiescent potential stirring into a display of serene wonder. The resonant hum of the chamber seemed to deepen in harmony with the glowing seams. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of peace, a feeling so complete it was almost a physical weight, a comforting pressure that encouraged his muscles to release and his posture to soften. He felt the tension he often carried in his neck and jaw simply melt away, replaced by a feeling of light, effortless ease. The chamber was not just a collection of candles. It was a living ecosystem of tranquility, and he was becoming a part of it. He sat back on the bench, his hand still resting on the warm, glowing candle, and simply watched. The swirling patterns of light were more captivating than any map he had ever drawn, for they were charting the geography of peace itself. They were a language without words, a story told in light and stillness. And in that moment, Cassian felt he could understand it perfectly. It spoke of patience, of inner beauty, and of the quiet magic that waits just beneath the surface of things, ready to be seen. Chapter 4. A Silence Shared. The days that followed lost their distinct edges, blending one into the next in a seamless flow of quiet contentment. Cassian's routine was simple and unhurried, governed by a gentle rhythm that seemed to rise from the chamber itself. He would wake, not to the sound of an alarm or the harsh light of morning, but to a slow, gentle return to awareness, the resonant hum of the repository, a constant, soothing presence even in his dreams. He would spend long, peaceful hours simply sitting on the smooth wooden bench, watching the golden seams weave their silent, luminous poetry within the wax. His mind, once a busy workshop of lines, symbols, and measurements, had become a quiet, open space. The constant internal chatter that had been the backdrop to his life had faded, replaced by a simple, profound awareness of the present moment. He noticed the way the sourceless light seemed to shift in intensity, ever so slightly over a long period. The way a mote of dust would drift lazily through the still air, or the way the scent of beeswax seemed to grow a little sweeter in the deepest part of the night. These small, simple observations were his entire world now, and it was a world of immense richness and beauty. Nora would often appear with a fresh mug of warm tea, her movements always silent and graceful. She would set it down beside him with a soft, knowing smile, sometimes lingering for a moment to gaze at the glowing candles with him. They rarely spoke, for words felt unnecessary and almost clumsy in the perfect completeness of the chamber silence. Their communication was one of shared presence, of a mutual appreciation for the profound peace that enveloped them. In her serene company, Cassian felt a sense of companionship that was deeper and more comforting than any conversation he had ever known. One afternoon, as he sat watching a particularly vibrant dance of light within a large spherical candle, Nora glided over and settled into the comfortable wooden chair nearby. For a long while they sat together, the only sound the faint imaginary whisper of the flowing golden light. The comfortable silence stretched between them, a bridge built of mutual understanding and shared tranquility. It was a silence that was full, not empty, rich with contentment and a sense of absolute rightness. After some time, Nora spoke, her voice a soft murmur that was like the rustle of dry leaves. "The wood of this place," she said, her gaze distant as if looking back through countless quiet years, "grew this way in a circle around a deep silence." She did not offer any further explanation, and Cassian felt no need to ask for one. The simple, poetic statement was enough. It resonated with the truth he felt in the very air around him, the sense that this place was not built, but had grown naturally from a seed of pure peace. He nodded slowly, a deep sense of understanding settling in his heart. He looked from the seamless curving walls to the candles, their inner light pulsing gently. He was beginning to see the connection between all things in this place, the quiet growth of the wood, the patient creation of the wax, the slow revelation of the inner light. All were part of the same gentle, unhurried story. It was a story of allowing things to be what they are in their own time, without force or expectation. The feeling of deep physical relaxation had become his natural state. His breath was always slow and deep now, seeming to move in perfect time with the chamber's resonant hum. The pleasant, gentle weight of contentment was a constant presence in his limbs, a feeling of being perfectly grounded and at ease. He watched as Nora reached out and gently touched a nearby candle, a soft smile on her face as the golden seams within it brightened in response, and he knew they were sharing the exact same feeling of profound and simple wonder. He picked up his now cool mug of tea, the ceramic smooth against his palms. The silence that returned after Nora's soft words was even richer than before, deepened by the small shared truth. He felt an immense gratitude welling up inside him, a thankfulness for this place, for its quiet magic, and for the gentle soul who tended to it. It was a feeling too large for words, so he simply let it be, a warm, silent glow in his own heart to match the golden light in the candle. Chapter 5. Carrying the Flame. There came a morning, after a period of time he could not and did not wish to measure, when Cassian awoke with a new feeling. It was not a desire to leave, for the thought of leaving this perfect peace still felt distant. It was a subtle, gentle sense of fullness, as if the deep well of his spirit, which had been so low upon his arrival, was now filled to the brim with a cool, clear stillness. The resonant hum of the chamber felt less like something he was observing and more like a rhythm that now existed within his own chest. He spent the day in his usual way, in quiet observation, but his perception had shifted. He looked at the golden seams swirling within the countless candles, and he no longer saw them as a magic that belonged only to this place. He understood now that the light was a reflection. The stillness of the chamber had not given him peace, but had instead allowed him to discover the peace that was already waiting within him, just as the quiet of his mind had allowed the candle's inner light to be seen. The repository was not a source, but a mirror for the tranquility within one's own heart. He felt the truth of this in his very bones, the gentle weight of contentment, the effortless depth of his breath, the profound quiet in his mind. These things felt solid now, a part of his own landscape. He knew with a quiet certainty that needed no proof that he could carry them with him. The flame of the candles was unlit, a symbol of potential, and he now felt that he was carrying that same quiet, unlit potential for peace within himself, ready to be tended to in the world outside. As the chamber's sourceless light began to soften into its nightly dimness, he found Nora standing near the archway, as if she had been waiting for him. She held no tea this time, Only the same serene, knowing smile. There was no need for goodbyes, for nothing was truly being left behind. He had found what he came for, and she knew it. The gratitude he felt was immense, a warm, silent ocean within him. "The quietest moonlight," she said softly, her voice a gentle parting gift, "is where the pollen for the wax is gathered." Her words painted a final, beautiful image in his mind, a picture of silent, night-blooming flowers and the gentle, magical process that had created this sanctuary. It was one last piece of the story given freely to carry with him on his journey. It reinforced the idea that all of this peace came from simple, natural, and gentle things. Cassian inclined his head in a gesture of deep respect and thanks. He met her kind eyes one last time, and in them he saw the same profound stillness that filled the chamber. He turned and walked slowly toward the archway, his footsteps echoing the deep calm he now felt. The air at the threshold was a gentle transition, the coolness of the chamber slowly mingling with the soft, earthy scent of the world outside. He stepped through the archway and into the deepening twilight. The world felt different now. The sound of a cricket chirping in the grass was not a distraction, but a beautiful, intricate note in a larger, peaceful song. The sight of the stars beginning to appear in the deep blue sky filled him with a quiet, expansive wonder. The peace of the repository had not made the world disappear. It had simply tuned his heart to its gentlest, most beautiful frequencies. He took a slow, deep breath of the night air, and he could still feel the resonant hum within him, a gentle, steadying presence. He placed a hand over his heart and felt its slow, calm, and steady beat. He was the cartographer, and he had charted a new map, one not of hills and rivers, but of the quiet pathways to the landscape of his own peaceful soul. He knew he could always find his way back. With a final contented sigh, he turned and began his slow, unhurried walk home.